Thanks very much. First of all, Stuart, thanks for inviting me. It's an honour and a pleasure to be here. Stuart asked me to talk about the background to corrosion at UMIST. And really that comes down to two outstanding individuals, Graham Wood and Ken Ross. And without them, none of this would have happened. They had one thing in common. They were both outstanding scientists and engineers, but that's about the only thing they had in common. Graham was large, a very good cricketer. Ken Ross was small, and I don't think he would ever claim to be a good cricketer. So corrosion at UMIST, as it then was, started in the late 50s when Ken Ross started some work on corrosion, and also at that time Dave Miller was working on microbial corrosion in the Chem-Eng department. In 1960, Ken Ross recruited Graham Wood, who had just finished his PhD at Cambridge, and also recruited Ian Menzies, who had just finished his PhD at Imperial. And together they started the first MSc course. They had very active research groups in high-temperature corrosion, primarily Graham Wood, and aqueous corrosion, primarily Ian Menzies. And Ken is a very interesting man. He was an inspirational leader. He was also a very cunning academic. And when he ran meetings, his rationale or process of running meetings was to let everyone talk on and on and on at great length. At the end of the meeting, say, well, I think the sense of the meeting is, which is what he'd already decided it would be. He was also a very courageous academic. At the time when the principal of UMIST was Mike Hazeldine, who was not university-like. In fact, he had to resign because he lost the confidence of the academic staff. And that was partly or largely due to Ken Ross, who the principal asked Ken to be vice principal, and he refused publicly and explained why. Another side to Ken was he and his wife Vera fostered something approaching 100 young overseas children in his career. Something you can't imagine Graham doing. So that was the start of corrosion at UMIST in the Chem-Eng department. There were two principal drivers, I think, for the establishment of the Corrosion Protection Centre. First of all, it was Ken's vision for a corrosion centre at UMIST, but also there was, at UMIST at the time, we had a principal then, Frank Morton, who had quite a vision, and he also established two other very successful research postgraduate departments, the Control System Centre under Madden Singh, and the Department of Instrumentation and Analytical Science under Peter Payne. And those were both postgraduate interdisciplinary areas which were successful. The second impetus, of course, was the report of the set up by Tony Benn on the cost of corrosion in the UK. It was chaired by Dr. T.P. Hall, university known as Sam Hall, and the conclusion of that was that, among many other things, that the corrosion cost the UK then about $1.6 billion, of which 300 could be saved if the current technology was applied. Those are about 25 billion cost in today's money, and 5.6 billion savings in today's money. So that's some of the background of the drivers for setting up the centre. In 1970, Ian Menzies left UMIST to go to Loughborough, where he set up a materials department, which was quite unusual for those days. They dealt not only with metal, but also with ceramics and polymers, and was very successful there. And at the same time, Ken decided that Graham would be the new head of the soon-to-be established Corrosion Protection Centre, which I think was formally set up on the 1st of April, not an auspicious date, 1972. And Graham became the first Professor of Corrosion Science and Engineering in the UK. In late 1970, he recruited Vic Ashworth, who just finished his PhD at Nottingham. Very early 1971, he recruited me. I just finished a postdoc at Carnegie Tech in Pittsburgh. We were both appointed lecturers in chemical engineering, which was a subject I knew absolutely nothing about, so it was a bit frightening. But it was clear that the centre was going to be set up. When the centre was set up, we were joined by Dave Miller, Vic, Graham and I. And over the years, we were joined by a whole lot of other lecturers, many of whom you'll remember: John Dawson, Peter Elliott, Howard Stoff, George Thompson, Bob Cottis, who's here, Dave Staffby, Roger Newman, Steve Turgis, Stuart Lyon, who's also here, later Margaret Stack. And they were all appointed over the years as lecturers in corrosion science and engineering. However, what the centre achieved would not have been possible without our postdocs and our students and our technicians and the secretarial staff. And I can't overemphasize the contribution that they made. Ken described his vision for the Corrosion Protection Centre as a three-legged milking stool without 3 legs of collapse. And the third leg, of course, the first 2 legs were teaching and research. The third leg was an industrial service. And in 1972, CAPSUS, the Corrosion Protection Centre Industrial Service, was set up, headed initially by Dave Geary, and initially the relations between the two groups, CAPSUS and the academic side of the Corrosion Centre, were good. However, CAPSUS grew, was very successful, and in 1960 it had over 60 staff, a turnover of 3 million, and it moved away, and it's now, I think, located at Trafford Park, taken over by Intertech. And I think Ken Ross would be sad that there isn't an industrial leg to the Corrosion Protection Centre, what's left of the Corrosion Protection Centre. When the centre was established in 1972, UMIST was formerly the Faculty of Technology in the Victoria University of Manchester. In 1994, UMIST received its Royal Charter and became its own degree awarding body. So students from 1994 onwards obtained UMIST degrees, and all the Corrosion Centre students got UMIST degrees. This changed again in 2004, when, as I understand it, UMIST was the older university subsumed Victoria University of Manchester before the new university. I'm not sure if I've got that right, but that's my understanding. How do you measure the success of the Corrosion Protection Centre? We introduced very early on teaching assessments. The teaching assessments were uniformly good, or no, that's not true. Were mostly good, some were not so good. I won't quote them. It was claimed at one stage that over half the world's corrosion scientists and engineers, excluding North America, were educated at UMIST. Now, I have no idea whether that's true or not, but it's a good statistic to quote. Something you can count with them was FRSs, FNG, other awards, and and so on that the academic staff and students got. By the contribution of our academic staff to national societies, national committees, national conferences, by the success of the 1992 conference to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Centre. And most of all, I think the evidence of our success is the success of our students throughout the world, as the students have educated and have gone out to practice corrosion. Research quality is somewhat easier to measure. The first research assessment exercise was carried out in 1986. It was not a very successful exercise. The second one was carried out in 1989. And that was carried out, nothing to do with funding, just to measure the quality of research. So it didn't penalise small departments or small universities, and every member, every staff had to be assessed. And in that assessment exercise, the UMIST came sixth, and the Corrosion Protection Centre was 5A staff, which meant all the academic staff then were doing world-class research. However, the rating which I most admire, or means most to me, comes from Professor Redcliffe Parkins at the University of Newcastle at the time, who referred regularly to UMIST, the Corrosion Protection Centre at UMIST, as the Manchester Mafia, and that was the one I liked best. So overall, my memory of the Corrosion Centre was what a fun place it was to work. We had it was really exciting starting off a research student who knew very little about the subject, then at the end know more about what you did. There were all the social activities, open days, external events, and also the chance to collaborate with a whole range of colleagues at UMIST and also other colleagues, particularly Bill Grant at Salford and Dave Hawkins at Manchester University. The staff student cricket matches. It really was a fantastic time. Thank you.
Would you like to?
Any questions?
Any questions?
Why did you hire me?
Well, I'm now voting.
So I guess just one question. There aren't really any similar sort of collaborations around the world in the way that this was set the Corrosion Protection Centre. Why wasn't it just here? Why wasn't the same factors coming into effect other places in the world?
I think it was primarily the vision of Ken Ross.
Right.
I mean, materials, metallurgy, is a difficult subject to place because it's got physics, chemistry, engineering, life sciences involved in it. So it's difficult to know where to place a metallurgy department. If you put it in a science department or an engineering department. That's even more so with corrosion, because there's so many different disciplines involved. And I think it probably, because no one had the vision that Ken Ross had. Okay.
Thank you.
Paul, do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I didn't know Ken Ross, but I know the background to it, and I think that's right. He apparently was inspired when he went around a chemical plant as an undergraduate and postgraduate. Yeah. And things can be much better than this, he said, and that inspired him the rest of the time. That's what I understand.
You have a question at that?
Yeah, you mentioned microbial corrosion in the early years. Why didn't that continue? Research into microbial corrosion.
We saved a little bit of time. And then time. There are obviously a number of people who work on environmental practice, restoration, Roger Newman, Bob Procter and so on. Microbial corrosion is very much Dave Miller's area. And when he retired,
question of who is around at the time to
Yeah.
get appointed, isn't it? I mean, you can't appoint someone who is someone to appoint.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you know anyone else who's doing, I don't think anyone else is doing serious.
There was a group in Harriet Watt when I was involved with the seawater work. We had some interest, but I mean,
Jim Scott, the
there
council.
was some standing out, so to speak.
He was obviously sort of like David.
Part of the problem is the biolab security, and that became difficult to manage as well.
Let's thank Robin again.
Thank you.